Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Rachel and I have been sharing my TTC and infertility journey here on YouTube. So now that we are in November, my husband and I have officially hit the 4-year mark of infertility. Obviously that's not a celebration. It's not something that we ever thought would happen. But what I like to kind of do is each year I will kind of make a video and kind of talk about where we are in our journey, where we came from, and kind of the things that I've learned, how I'm feeling now, and where we're headed. It kind of level sets everybody because there's new people that join our channel. I know I've been sharing so many videos lately. I try to post on Sundays and Wednesdays. So in 2016, my husband and I got married. We knew all along that we wanted to have children. We wanted a bunch of children, and it was something that we were really excited about. But it wasn't necessarily something that as soon as we get married, like we want to have kids right away. I think we just got married. We just kind of was like, well, whenever it happens, it happens. 1 month, which was the video that I had started, I really thought that, you know, I was pregnant. My period, I think, was a little bit late. I ended up having like 5 false positives, or it could have been a chemical pregnancy. I mean, we don't really know, obviously. And I think that's when it all started. That was when I realized, you know, I was super scared in that moment when I thought, oh my gosh, like I could be pregnant, you know? And it was kind of scary at first. And then because it was a false positive, I think it made me realize really how much I wanted a child and how much I felt like, you know, I was ready for that to happen. I don't know if you're ever really ready, but I think it was kind of just a little bit gut-wrenching knowing that those were negative. That entire year, obviously, we weren't trying not to have a baby, and more than not, we were, you know, just hoping that it would happen. Obviously, a year went by and we were not successful. I think once we hit that 1-year mark, it really became a reality of, you know, it wasn't working and we didn't really know why. So I think at the 6-month mark is when I actually started getting concerned. But it wasn't until the year mark, obviously, that you're considered infertile and you could talk to your doctor more about that. I think it was like at my 6-month mark, I think I had a doctor's appointment, like just a normal doctor's appointment. And I had kind of mentioned to her, you know, we're thinking about having a baby. We've been not, you know, we're not using any protection or anything the past 6 months. It hasn't happened yet. And she had just kind of said, you know, well, once you hit that 1-year mark, like if you haven't, make sure you schedule an appointment and we'll talk more about it, blah, blah, blah. So once that happened and we hit the 1-year mark, we had like a few tests ran. So I did have blood work done, which all came back normal. Tyler ended up having a semen analysis done and it did not come back good. However, our fertility doctor now did say that that it could have just been a bad day, and that typically you want 1 or 2, and then you take the average of the 2, which is more so on a good day where you lie. And so after that, we kind of were just a little bit worried that it was, you know, male factor infertility. And she basically said, you know, I was ovulating, I wasn't having any issues, that there wasn't anything that she could do more. And she referred us to either a urologist to check on Tyler or to a fertility clinic. When we contacted the urologist, they basically said there wasn't anything that they could do. So we did our initial consultation with the fertility clinic. It's a different one than what we're at now. It really opened our eyes for what was to come. And it obviously was a little discouraging because we knew that there was a lot of baseline tests that the fertility clinic wanted to do, some of which we'd already done. We already, like blood work and semen analysis and stuff like that. Another thing we knew is that our insurance would not cover any type of fertility treatments or anything like that. After that appointment, it really showed us, you know, how much everything was going to cost, and it really let us to know that like we really weren't prepared to start any types of treatments, and that what we were going to try to do is just continue naturally trying and then getting any tests that we could do, you know, just with our doctors or whatever. So more time went on, and I did end up contacting my regular OBGYN again, and I just said, you know, is there anything that you could do? Tyler did end up having another semen analysis, and it came back great. So I told that to my doctor, and she was like, well, we could do an HSG test, which basically checks to see if your tubes are blocked or not. So I ended up having that test done, and it came back normal as well. Actually, they said everything looked great, that I had a great looking uterus. So after having that, obviously you can imagine it was just like, well, you know, what is the issue? So after that, we tried a little bit more naturally. And then I think after that, we were at the point where, you know, we're gonna have to go to a fertility clinic. But we kind of just waited until we felt at peace with that, and until we felt like we had enough money saved up to where if we went there, we could actually do a few things, a few tests, treatments, or something that would help get us to the next step. So fast forward after a few years, and now we are in year 3, I would say. In January of this year was really when I decided, you know, I felt ready and at peace with seeking out another fertility clinic and hopefully getting somewhere on our journey. COVID hit, and so everything was like on hold. You know, we didn't know what to expect. We didn't know where to, you know, if we could go. There was just a lot of factors that kind of put that on hold again. Flash forward to July of this year, and we finally had our consultation with the fertility clinic, and it was the most eye-opening experience. Our physician was very thorough, went through a lot of different things, talked about our percentages of conceiving and not conceiving, and where we are in our journey and what our options were. And so there were a few things that we had to, you know, get figured out. In that first consultation, we did some blood work, we did an ultrasound, and all of that came back normal and fine. And so that's where kind of like our journey started, that I've been sharing over the past little bit. Obviously, I'm not going to go into great detail because many of you all probably already been following along, but if you haven't been following along, I have a playlist, and I would highly suggest you just to go back through those videos so you get a more in-depth look at the things that we have been doing. Now, we've had an IUI that was unsuccessful. We did a timed intercourse cycle that was unsuccessful. We were able to get another look at Tyler's semen analysis, which actually came back off the charts. It was really, really good. And it kind of just showed that obviously it's likely not an issue with him. My fertility doctor at this point feels like it is endometriosis, even though I don't really have any symptoms and I don't have that confirmed yet. So at this point in our journey, obviously we need to figure out if I have endometriosis or not. So our options are either the Receptiva test or a laparoscopy, and that is kind of what we're in the process of deciding on. So long story short, that is just the gist of our journey so far. I always like to reflect on kind of what I've learned and how I'm doing now. And if you're new to this journey, you will know that this is a very mentally and physically exhausting journey. Physically, I mean, you all know, if you even start the treatment process, it is very kind of like, I don't know what the word is. It's just very vulnerable. It's very like, just invasive. Like, it's very personal, and you know, there's just a lot of tests and things that you have to do that is very uncomfortable. It's nothing that you want to have to do on such a regular basis. And mentally it's also very challenging because it's like a roller coaster. And if you look back at my very first video, the first year was a challenge, just kind of not really knowing much about infertility or why we weren't conceiving or how long it was going to take. And then as the years have went on, I've definitely learned so much, and I've definitely been able, from a mental standpoint, been able to kind of manage the journey and understand it a little bit better and deal with my emotions a lot better as well. I think obviously I've had different videos of different instances and things that I've learned, but I guess I'll just kind of touch on the high points, just that what come to mind. Definitely that the one thing that really comes to my mind is just that you have to continue on with your life. You can't just live your life every day focused on trying to conceive, or focused on what's like planning your life to how it's going to work out for a child, when you don't know when that chapter of your life is actually going to happen. You can't just put your life on hold for something that you don't know what the plan is. You don't know what the outcome is going to be. Obviously, you can be proactive and you can just be responsible. You know, if you are planning for a child in the long run, obviously you want to be financially sound, and that's something you can plan for like that. But I think for me, like, making decisions about your career based on having a child, making decisions about your living situation. So just being able to not base your entire thinking, your entire life, and your entire world on something that is so future and uncertain, and just focusing on the now and the moment that you were in and the phase of life that you were in. I think that that's one big lesson that I learned. A couple other things, you know, emotionally, I think after year one, definitely in year two, it was still such an emotional roller coaster. Just, you know, getting your hopes up, feeling like you finally gotten the pregnancy, and then it crashing and not having it. And then, you know, I'm in the phase of life where so many of my other friends are, you know, getting their pregnancies and having their children, and they're not just on child 1, they're on child 2, on child 3. And, you know, that can be hard, just hard to see and to deal with and to understand. And, you know, sometimes you have friends and you're all in the same phase of life, and then when they have their family and they have a child, their life changes, and that's okay, and that's a part of it. But it's okay to also recognize that it can change your relationships. It can change, you know, the way that because their life is changing and they were such a big part of your life, it can also change your life as well. And I'm not saying that it's all in a bad way. I just think it's something that can be emotionally challenging, and something that, you know, I've had to work through, and that I deal with a lot better. You know, there's so much that goes into that, whether that's, you know, having to go to baby showers, having to see people in your family that conceive when you're wanting to conceive. And I think that that's just a huge emotion, like a huge part of the emotional roller coaster. There's also things where you just hear from, whether it's family members or from, you know, just general coworkers and people in the public that just don't know your situation, and they're always asking you, you know, why don't you have a kid? When are you gonna have a kid? And that is challenging, and that is very hard, and that was definitely a part in my journey that was very hard for me to deal with. But I've learned from it. I've learned from my reactions and my emotions and how I've handled the situations. Over time you learn, and you're able to handle those situations a lot better. And when you're able to handle them better, I feel like it also helps you mentally deal with it as well. So another thing to just give myself grace. Through those years where the emotions were very raw and new and real, it was very difficult giving myself grace and helping myself understand that these emotions are okay to feel, but it's about how you learn from them and how you handle them, and how you just accept that that is the emotion that you're going to have, but that it doesn't define you, that you're able to push on from that, learn from it, and handle it better the next time. There's two things that I think have been crucial as well. One, and probably the biggest, has been my faith. And I've talked about my faith so much, and how it has truly been at the core of this whole journey, the thing that has got me through this. It has allowed me to, you know, learn so much more about my faith in God. My relationship with God has changed in so many ways. And it's something that, honestly, 4 years ago, I would not feel comfortable sitting here talking about this on camera. It wasn't something that, you know, I've been a Christian my whole life. But I think that God has definitely guided me through this journey and showed me who he is and who this is about, and that I realized that, you know, no matter what happens in our journey, that it all is a part of his plan, and that at the end of the day, that I've just got to, you know, live out my faith and trust that what is meant to happen will happen. And I promise that is easier said than done. And I know that if you're in like year 1, year 2, even year 3 or 4, that is hard to hear, and it's not something that's easy for me to say. But I think being in this point in my journey, I feel like I can say that, and I can acknowledge that. Do I like to hear that from other people? No. So I'm sure you don't like to hear that from me either. But it's the truth. The other thing that has been so crucial is connecting with people like you all. Being able to connect with a group of people who are going through the same thing, who understand you, who get you, who knows what you're feeling, is so important on this journey. Those first 2 years were so hard, just learning to navigate this on my own. And after I released my video at the 1st year mark, it was just like something boiling inside of me that I just wanted to like spit it out and just tell people, like, this is what I'm going through, and I don't want to go through it alone. And I think that's how this all started and how this community was born. And I do think that it was God telling me to share that and to be vulnerable and to connect with people like you. And I'm so grateful that, you know, I had the courage and, you know, was able to do that, and that so many of you all were able to connect with me as well and have been so gracious as well. And I just don't think that I would be able to have gotten to this point in my journey and feel like I'm in a good place, and that I feel more stable than I ever have been with this journey. And I feel like the support of this community has been crucial in that. If you're like a few months into your journey, or a few years or whatever it is, I highly encourage you to connect with people, whether that's, you know, through my channel, through my Facebook support group, through Instagram, through maybe there's local support groups near you, books, just anything that you can to kind of understand other people's journeys and know that you aren't alone is so helpful on this journey. So I think those are the biggest things that just kind of come to mind, that I've definitely learned on this journey. There's so many other lessons learned, I can promise you that. I would love to hear some of your lessons in the comments if you have some more that I didn't mention, because I'm sure I can probably relate to those as well. There's just, you know, I think at the end of the day, you know, God gives us challenges in our life to make us better people, to help guide our path in our life of what, you know, the purpose of why we're here. And I feel like this has been such a huge part of that in my life. And I feel like it will continue to be, whether I conceive tomorrow or, you know, 5 years from now, whatever it is. I feel like this is definitely just a crucial part in my path of life and the path that God has given me. So other than that, just to touch base, you all, I feel like you probably know where we are in our journey. We're definitely in the process of deciding what is going to be next, saving up the money for that, and hopefully getting to some sort of answer in our unexplained infertility journey. So I've been rambling on, but this is my 4-year mark. It is the video that is never one that I want to make, but I think it is important, especially for those who are on this journey. So again, I just thank you all so much. I look forward to hopefully, you know, having some great news soon, and to finding out, you know, more information about our journey, and just to be able to share it with you all. I know that so many of you all have been on here with me since the very beginning, since sharing our journey, and it truly means so much. And it's just, I mean, I just can't even explain how grateful I am for that. And so I appreciate all the comments that you all leave and kind of sharing your journeys. It's definitely uplifting, and it makes you feel less alone. So with that, I will see you all in my next video. Hopefully we'll have, you know, a more concrete decision to let you all know what we're doing next, and hopefully be well on our way to getting that scheduled and hopefully taking the next steps. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye guys.